Well, good evening. So, Father's Day is just around the corner, and I saw a post today, and it said, "Oh, you're posting complaining about your baby daddy? Well, you picked him." And I had a couple of responses that I wanted to make to this post. Now, generally, I don't agree with just ranting for no purpose at all, like just complaining just to be complaining. I I see a lot of videos that talk about relationships, and I think that some of them are very informational in terms of I've learned a lot of terms. I learned a new one today, weaponized responsibility. Never heard of this before. And weaponized responsibility is basically when someone has procrastinated on a responsibility that they have, and they basically are holding that at bay so that when their partner asks them to do something, they can say, "Oh, I can't do that because I have to do this responsibility." And so they could have done that responsibility way in the past, but they were holding off on it, just holding it so that they had an excuse to not help their partner or not, take on their share of the responsibility. So I learned that because of a video where someone was complaining and they were explaining what weaponized responsibility was. So that to me is an example of a great complaint that leads to people learning from the situation that was complained about. So that's one thing I want to say about that. The other thing I want to say is the idea that people, especially women, picked the baby daddy they got is partially flawed, because the person that you are with before the pregnancy is not always the person that you're with during and after the pregnancy. And this is documented. You can Google everything that I'm getting ready to say. So when a woman gets pregnant, she goes through hormonal changes. But there are many men who also go through hormonal changes. Hormones can change everything about the way that you act. Men and women go through brain changes during pregnancy and after the baby is born. There is postpartum depression in men. So the same moodiness, irritability, anger, lashing out, hopelessness, helplessness, even violent behavior that some women experience in postpartum depression, some men can experience in postpartum depression. There's also a thing called the walkaway spouse syndrome, where somebody literally just wakes up one day and they decide to walk away, and there's no red flags. And then two others that have to deal with more of a ego issue are the illusion of depth. And that is when a person believes that they can handle more than they actually can handle. So I have experienced this personally. When I got married, my husband begged me to have kids. And I had no qualms about having a child with him because he was a great dad to the daughter he already had, who was 3 years old at the time. And everybody that met him, my friends, my family, my coworkers, thought he was a great guy. He's going to be a great dad. You guys are married. Why wouldn't you have kids, right? Well, I got pregnant with twins. And me being pregnant with twins was very different than what he expected. I ended up on bed rest for a month. He was under the impression that, I would still be contributing 50%. Up until I had the babies, I would have a short period of time off, and then I would be right back at work. Well, me being on bed rest was not in the plan. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about pregnancy. Things happen that are unexpected. When all of a sudden, without warning, I have to stop working or we're going to lose these babies. He's feeling, oh my God, I didn't, I wasn't set up for this. I didn't plan for this. And he's angry and resentful at me and at the kids that haven't even been born yet, because his vision of fatherhood and how things were going to go has now changed. And now nothing is ever going to be the same, because not only did I get pregnant with twins, which he was thinking it was going to be one baby, and it's two. So everything is double. I'm on bed rest for a month. So that's the thing about pregnancy. You don't know what's going to happen. And a person who feels completely and totally prepared for a birth to go one way or a pregnancy to go one way may not be prepared to pivot, and so we actually had fights where he was angry that I couldn't do more, that I, was limited in certain things, because he was used to me cooking, cleaning, doing everything that I did, going to work. And all of a sudden, all of that's on him for a month. And that was not something he was prepared for at all. Now, was there any red flag to that? None. Did anybody in my family, my friends, my coworkers expect that to happen? No. Is there any way they could have predicted that I was going to get pregnant with twins and be on bed rest for a month? No. So this idea that you picked him doesn't fit when you're talking about situations that you don't know how they're going to go. And pregnancy is one of those situations. The last one that comes to mind off the top of my head is another form of ego, which is overconfidence. Sometimes men especially, but women can do it too, they are overconfident. They have seen other people have kids. They've seen other people do marriage. They've seen other people have relationships, and they think it's easy. Anybody can do it. And they're overconfident. And so when the struggles come, because they were so overconfident and they thought it was going to be easy, they're not really prepared for the hard times, the bad times, the difficulties, because they thought it was going to be easy. They thought it was going to be fun. And parenting and marriage is not easy and fun most of the time. Most of the time it's work. And so this idea that don't complain about your baby daddy because you picked him, you don't know what he's going to be like until he becomes a dad. And that's just the truth and the facts. May you walk in